Rory Calhoun reveals the names of the gay actors he despises the most who have dated him in private. On the 8th of August in the year 1922, Rory Calhoun was born Francis Timothy Macau in the city of Los Angeles, California. James Macau, an Irish gambler who was known for his erratic lifestyle and risk-taking personality, and Elizabeth Cuthbert were his parents, and his birth name represented his family lineage. He was the son of James Macau and Elizabeth Cuthbert. His ancestry contains a feeling of grit and resilience which can be traced back to his Irish ancestors. However, Rory's childhood was marked by adversity from the beginning. Rory's father, James, went away in a sad accident when he was less than a year old, which was only 10 months after Rory was born. Because of this unexpected death, the family was thrown into a state of mental and financial difficulty, which had a profound impact on his mother, Elizabeth. Elizabeth remarried several years after the passing of her son's father in the hopes of bringing some sense of stability into the lives of her little boy. However, Rory would find that this new chapter would provide a number of challenges. It was the beginning of a troubled life when he changed his name to Frank Durgin, which was the surname of his stepfather. This move signaled the beginning of his difficult upbringing. The dynamics of the family were somewhat difficult. This volatility played a large role in molding Rory's early habits and view on life. His stepfather was allegedly harsh and often abusive, and this instability played a role in shaping Rory's early tendencies. The years that Rory spent growing up were riddled with challenges. He was led down a bad path as a result of the emotional strain and the absence of regular support from his parents. His involvement in criminal actions, such as robbery and theft, began when he was a young boy and continued throughout his life. A deeper battle, a search for identity and belonging in the midst of the chaos that was his home life, was reflected in his early run-ins with the law. It was when he was only 13 years old that he experienced a very remarkable event. The revolver was taken by Rory. As a consequence of this significant offense, he was transferred to the Preston School of Industry, which is a reformatory in the state of California that specifically serves juvenile offenders. Rory's defiant nature prevailed, and he was able to escape from the institution, which further demonstrated his refusal to be contained or controlled. The facility was intended to rectify problems that were occurring in the lives of problematic kids. Rory had reached his breaking point by the time he was 17 years old. It had reached the point where the violence he received from his stepfather was intolerable, and he went away in an attempt to escape the terrible environment that he was living in at home. The fact that he was by himself and determined to live his life according to his own terms led him to engage in activities such as hot-wiring automobiles and conducting occasional thefts, such as robbing jewelry stores and thieves. Following the theft of a vehicle and its subsequent journey across the state, he was apprehended and sentenced to 3 years in prison. These dangerous activities obviously attracted the attention of the law enforcement officials. He was incarcerated at the United States Medical Center for Federal Prisoners in Springfield, Missouri, for the duration of his term with the federal government, a federal jail that accommodates offenders who require medical or psychological care and is noted for its reputation. Rory's release occurred just before his 21st birthday, which marked the beginning of a new phase in his life. This took place despite the fact that this chapter was a dark one. After being freed from prison, Rory Calhoun was resolute in his intention to make positive changes in his life. He took on a variety of laborious and physically difficult tasks, ranging from being a mechanic and wood logger to being a hard rock miner, cowboy, fisherman, and truck driver. Despite the fact that the route was not an easy one, he nonetheless pursued these positions. The roughness and adaptability that he shown in each of these parts would ultimately become defining characteristics of his movie persona because of his character. Over the course of these years of toiling away, Rory was gradually laying the groundwork for a life that was more secure and had a greater sense of purpose. It was an unexpected event that marked the turning point in Rory's life, despite the fact that he was still a long way from the limelight in Hollywood. An actor named Alan Ladd, who was a popular figure during that era, took notice of him while he was riding a horse in a park in Los Angeles. Rory possessed a natural charisma and a physical presence that suggested he had the potential to become a famous actor, and Ladd found this to be attractive. Because of this fortunate meeting, Rory was able to enter the entertainment industry, which provided him with a new beginning and the possibility to reimagine who he is. She was a well-respected Hollywood agent named Sue Carroll, and she was instrumental in getting Rory's acting career off the ground. She made arrangements for him to have a screen test at 20th Century Fox, which is one of the most prominent studios in Hollywood. His first film parts were rather little, and he did not receive any recognition for them. These early roles included cameos in films such as Something for the Boys, 1944, and Sunday Dinner for Soldiers, 1944, as well as a brief part in a production starring Laurel and Hardy, 2044. Rory gained vital experience on set and exposure to the workings of the film industry with these initial parts, despite the fact that they were quite minor. He was still built as Frank Macau when he made his debut in the film The Bullfighters, which was released in 1945. Rory's first acknowledged performance was in this picture. Almost immediately after that, Henry Wilson, who worked for the famed producer David O. Selnick, became his manager and went on to contract him. According to Snick, he was given the stage name Rory Calhoun, which would later become synonymous with rugged charm and leading man appeal. This moniker was given to him as a result of Snick's influence. In 1945, Rory was sent back to prison for attacking a detective, which served as a reminder of his troubled background and continued to cast a shadow over his promising career. However, Rory's climb was briefly stopped by this event. In spite of this, Rory went back to acting with a newfound commitment, and he was able to land his first noteworthy role in the 1947 thriller The Red House. This picture highlighted his ability to communicate passion and brooding masculinity. He also made appearances in the films Adventure Island and That Hagen Girl during the same year, which helped him slowly grow his profile in the Hollywood industry. During the year 1948, Rory starred in the film Miraculous Journey, which went on to become a huge success and contributed to his rise to fame and financial success. In the year that followed, he made appearances in two westerns, namely Massacre, River and Sand, which helped him establish his standing within the western genre, which would go on to define a significant portion of his career. For Rory Calhoun, the decade of the 1950s was an era of great success, during which he played a variety of characters, including both heroic and evil ones. As an actor, he demonstrated his flexibility by playing his first negative character in the film Return of Frontiersmen, which was released in 1950. In the same year, he debuted in the film Country Fair, in which he played the lead role and displayed his friendly and approachable screen presence. Throughout the decade, he worked in a wide range of cinema genres, including musicals like Meet Me After the Show. In 1951, westerns like Rogue River, in 1951, romantic dramas like I'd Climb the Highest Mountain, in 1952, and biographical pictures like With a Song in My Heart, in 1953. His resume includes all of these types of films. Furthermore, he was a part of renowned films such as How to Marry a Millionaire, which was released in 1953, which expanded his fame beyond the realm of westerns. In the middle of the 1950s, Rory was seen in films such as River of No Return, which he starred in opposite Marilyn Monroe, The Yellow Tomahawk, which was also released in 1954, and A Bullet is Waiting, which was also released in 1954. 1955 is The Spoilers, 1956 is Raw Edge, 1957 is The Hired Gun, and 1958's Ride Out of Revenge were the films that were released. Each of his roles contributed to the perpetuation of his reputation as a trustworthy leading man in films that were romantic, action-packed, and adventurous. Rory continued to star in historical and adventure films throughout the 1960s, including Thunder in Carolina, 1960, the epic The Colossus of Rhodes, 1961, and The Treasure of Monte Cristo, 1961. His career extended internationally when the 1960s dawned, and he continued to star in films like these. His continuing charm and adaptability were on display in the films Marco Polo, 1962, The Young and the Brave, 1963, and Apache Rising, 1965, in which he played fascinating parts to demonstrate his versatility. His willingness to explore a wide variety of cinematic subjects and places was further proved by films such as Our Men in Baghdad, 1966, and The Emerald of Artman, 1969. Over the course of the 1970s and 1980s, Rory Calhoun made appearances in a number of cult and genre films that were a response to the shifting trends in the film industry. Night of the Lepus, a science fiction horror film that was released in 1972, garnered a cult following despite receiving poor reviews. He played a leading role in the film. In later years, he appeared in films such as Motel Hell, a horror comedy that was released in 1980 and has since become a cult classic, Angel, 1984, and Hell Comes to Frogtown, a film that was released in 1989 and mixed elements of action, science fiction, and satire. In the film Pure Country, which was released in 1992, Rory played the character of Ernest Tucker, a rancher and family patriarch. This was one of his last cinematic roles. This part was appropriate for an actor whose career was strongly intertwined with themes of Western and rural Americana, and it served as a symbolic conclusion to a lengthy and varied career. The personal life of Rory Calhoun was just as dramatic and complicated as his successful career in the entertainment industry. He has been married 3 times over the course of his life, and his partnerships have frequently garnered attention from the media as well as from his devoted followers. During the year 1948, he tied the knot with Lita Barron, who was also a singer and actress. This was his first marriage. This marriage lasted for more than 20 years before the couple divorced in the year 1970. Cindy, Tammy, and Lori were the 3 daughters that Rory and Lita blessed with their mother. The family life during these years, on the other hand, was hampered by Rory's reputation as a notorious womanizer, which would eventually come to light in the public eye. In 1970, when Lita Barron filed for divorce, she did not shy away from disclosing the facts that led to the breakup of her marriage partnership. Several women with whom Rory had been involved extramaritally were listed by her in the documents that she submitted to the court. Notable among them is the great actress Betty Grable, who is considered to be one of the most famous. The assertion made by Barron indicated that Calhoun had sexually inappropriate interactions with 79 different women while they were married. This statistic offered a vivid picture of Rory's life outside of the public eye. Despite the fact that the figure itself is stunning, the manner in which Calhoun responded to this accusation was perhaps more illustrative of his personality and attitude. A memorable remark was made by him in response. The fact that she didn't even list half of them reveals not only that she is openly accepting of his infamous womanizing, but that she also takes a somewhat casual view to his love adventures. Calhoun became married to writer Sue Rodas in 1971, following the conclusion of his divorce with Lita Barron. This second marriage was characterized by an interpersonal dynamic that was more turbulent than the first. Sue Rodas, a lady with intelligence and career aspirations, emerged as a significant character in Calhoun's later life. Together, they had a daughter named Rory, who was named after her father, so establishing a relationship that was one of a kind. On the other hand, their partnership was everything but a straightforward affair. Despite the challenges they had, the couple eventually remarried in 1982, demonstrating that despite their hardships, there remained a desire to reconcile and retain their family link. The divorce process took place in 1979, despite the fact that it lasted for a shorter period of time than his first marriage. This second marriage to Rhodes signified a different chapter in Calhoun's personal life, one that appeared to be a balance between love and strife. Further adding complexities to his complicated personal tale is the fact that Rory Calhoun is the father of a daughter with actress Fatina Marcus, in addition to the children he has with Barron and Rhodes. By merging the lives of her parents, who were both deeply involved in the entertainment industry, their daughter, Athena Marcus Calhoun, passed on the heritage of two Hollywood titans. Despite the fact that it was not a marital arrangement, this relationship was crucial in Rory's life because it marked the beginning of yet another significant connection and the expansion of his family tree. He was ruggedly handsome and fiercely independent, but he was also plagued by secrets that he kept under lock and key throughout his entire life and profession. Rory Calhoun remained a man of tremendous contradictions throughout his entire life and career. Calhoun is said to have confessed to several secret relationships during his time in Hollywood's golden age, naming two of the most iconic male stars of the era, Marlon Brando and Rock Hudson, in a shocking and deeply personal account that was reportedly written in his later years but was never officially published. The account is said to have been written in his later years. However, rather than remembering these liaisons with fondness, Calhoun apparently disclosed a complicated and emotionally charged history, indicating that these two guys were among the ones he loathed the most, not simply because of the complex web of shame and secret that surrounded them. Without the personal betrayals and power plays that went place behind closed doors, they were all able to navigate the situation successfully. The relationship between Calhoun and Marlon Brando is said to have started in the early 1950s, when both performers were on the rise and had a reputation for being bad boys. According to the memoir that has not been published, the first friendship between Calhoun and Brando may be traced back to their mutual appreciation for motorbikes, whiskey, and defiance against the conformity of studios. According to reports, however, there existed a hidden and strong sexual relationship that was as explosive as it was confused. This relationship was said to exist beneath the surface of machismo. As a cyclone, wild, untamed, and merciless when he wanted to be, Brando was described by Calhoun as being these characteristics. As a result of Brando's manipulative habits, emotional coldness, and persistent need for control, he asserted that the affair was the result of these characteristics. In spite of the fact that Calhoun stated that he was attracted to Brando's magnetic charm and sexual confidence, he also wrote bitterly about how he felt exploited and discarded. Any person could be enticed by Marlon. According to what is said to have been written by Calhoun, but once he had you, he'd spit you out like you were yesterday's news. The two gradually drifted apart, officially as adversaries and privately as hurt lovers, and Calhoun never forgave Brando for the psychological damage he said he experienced as a result of their relationship that they had. It was even more complicated to understand his connection with Rock Hudson. Both performers were under contract with Universal at the time, and they shared a trainer at the studio gym, according to Calhoun, who claimed that their affair began around that time. Calhoun characterized Hudson as being emotionally reticent and soft-spoken, in contrast to Brando, who was regarded as being a man who concealed his actual self behind a mask of all-American machismo. Their private connection was characterized by both secrecy and mutual understanding, as well as the quiet desperation of two men who were attempting to live genuine lives during a time when such honesty may be detrimental to a career. Nevertheless, despite the fact that they had a strong connection at first, Calhoun asserted that their relationship deteriorated after Hudson allegedly revealed his identity to a studio official in private during a power struggle for a film job. That treachery, according to Calhoun, was the ultimate act of cowardice. It was a move that caused him to view Hudson not as a victim of the Hollywood system, but rather as an enabler of the most vicious activities that the machine would engage in. According to what was written by Calhoun, Rock was skilled at wearing the mask better than anybody else, and he was willing to let anyone else fall as long as he maintained his own position. In the time that Calhoun was writing his private views, he had already reached an advanced age and had become disillusioned not just with Hollywood, but also with the people who he had formerly placed the most trust in. It was not exclusively due to the fact that they were keeping their affairs a secret that he expressed his resentment when he made reference to Brando and Hudson. A deep pool of pain, betrayal, and the emotional cost of living a double life brought it about. It was the source of the problem. His hatred for them was not necessarily based on who they were, but rather on the things that they brought to his thoughts. There was a time when the only way to survive was to remain silent, when love was a battleground that was fought behind closed doors, and when even the most meaningful relationships might be used as weapons. It was on April 28, 1999, that Rory Calhoun, a ruggedly attractive star who appeared in a multitude of westerns and was a well-known face in film and television from the 1940s through the 1980s, passed away due to his illness. The Providence St. Joseph Medical Center in Burbank, California, which is well known for treating a large number of celebrities at the center of the entertainment industry, was the location where he passed away. He had been facing serious health challenges for a number of years prior to his dying, and Calhoun had reached the age of 76 at the time of his passing. Emphysema and diabetes, two debilitating and chronic ailments that had slowly deteriorated his health in his later years, were the causes of his death. As a result of these conditions, he had developed complications that led to his death. Emphysema, a kind of chronic obstructive pulmonary disease (COPD), is a condition that has a significant impact on lung function. It is frequently linked to smoking for an extended period of time, which was a typical practice among Hollywood celebrities during his time period. Through the course of his final years, Calhoun would have seen a decline in his quality of life as a result of the disease, which would have made breathing increasingly difficult for him. A metabolic illness that hinders the body's capacity to regulate blood sugar may have aggravated his physical challenges, leading to a progressive worsening of his general health. At the same time, diabetes, which is a metabolic disorder, may have contributed to his physical struggles. In order to effectively manage both problems, he would have needed to undergo regular medical assessments, adhere to stringent pharmaceutical regimens, and possibly even be hospitalized if his illnesses progressed. Over the course of the 1990s, Calhoun had withdrawn into a more private existence, away from the spotlight of Hollywood, and remained out of the public eye for the majority of that decade. His reputation continued to live on through the repeats of his legendary television series, The Texan, and the numerous Western films that had made him a household name decades earlier. Although he was no longer acting in new projects, his legacy continued to live on. For those who had the opportunity to know him personally, he was recalled as a multifaceted individual who was gregarious, fiercely independent, and occasionally cantankerous, but who was always sincerely passionate about his profession. When he passed away, it was the end of an era for people who were aficionados of Westerns from the Golden Period. The classic American cowboy had been portrayed on television by Rory Calhoun, who had a square jaw, a confident stride, and a charm that was instantly recognizable. Among legends such as Randolph Scott and Joel McCrea, he stood out as a towering figure, and despite the fact that his name might not have been as well known among younger audiences among fans of traditional Hollywood, he was held in high esteem. Following Calhoun's passing, his cremation was carried out in accordance with his desires. A difficult yet eventful personal life, a legacy of over 80 film credits, and a reputation as one of the last of Hollywood's real Western heroes are all things that he left behind. His departure was reported in trade media, and those who had followed his career and respected his tenacity, both on and off the screen, expressed their sorrow in a subdued manner.